Aaron is fantastic. He has had extensive experience in the C-suites in numerous companies. He's also built multiple companies, both here and in Colorado. He is currently working on a really cool business intelligence startup called Legendary, which apparently just secured some funding. So let's go Legendary. So anyways, he is brilliant. You want to get yourself into some interesting conversations, you find this guy. What we are going to do is talk about building momentum and traction in your businesses. This is a subject that is near and dear to Aaron's heart. I would say that's one of the things that we end up talking about a lot. So with that, we have a series of questions that we're going to go through here, kind of talking about what he's experienced, lessons that he's learned, how that can be applied to, your businesses or what you are working on. Then once we're kind of done with our set here, we'll open that up to Q&A to you guys. So if you have a burning question that you must ask, write it down, and then you will have that opportunity to ask Aaron here in a few minutes. So to dive into things, Aaron, how do you define traction in your business?
Do I want to let them know what it is, by the way?
I did. Sure.
Did you?
Yeah, I gave them to you.
No.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell them about Legendary.
We're building a digital executive, essentially, that is a kind of like taking video games, 3D visualization, 3D modeling, and comparing it with deep business intelligence and AI architecture. So kind of a fun thing. It's a little complicated, but yeah. So traction in our business is obviously kind of every business has a little bit of a different definition, and so it's hard to be like, okay, this is exactly what traction looks like for every single one of you, because we're obviously tech. Everybody is in a slightly different place, but on some reality, I think we're all kind of going after the same thing, which is taking something from nothing into reality, and that journey is the hardest part, actually, to be real. Traction is, we can talk about market, we can talk about, your business model, your, go-to-market, all of that stuff, but traction is the hardest part because it is the result of action. You already have had to have taken action to get to traction. Ooh,
that's good. Don't worry.
Write that down. Yeah,
we got that on video, so that'll be a good soundbite.
And for us, it's really, traction. Our company is a lot of it is learning and research and understanding and watching the market. And so obviously the easy answer for all of us is get in money, right? Like get some more form of money in. But for some of us, that's a little bit harder. That barrier might be a little bit further out. And so what we have to do is we have to sit back and go, what does it look like to actually make something real, and how are we measuring reality? And for us, that's contributors, actually. Like, when we look at okay, somebody here is Nelson is about to pitch. You're going, okay, to build a pitch deck, that's not necessarily traction. To get somebody that's interested in investing in your company and getting the negotiation going on your term sheet, that's traction. And so for us, we look at it and we go contributors, people who are willing to contribute and do something for our company, whether it's purchase our product, give us investment, or even for us, it's partnerships and partner with us to get our product out into the market. That's traction in our company.
Totally. So with Legendary, when did you what was your first real form of traction for you guys?
Oh yeah. Okay, so was that the next one? Because I kind of wrote some things down in my head, because sometimes I'm like that.
That is technically the next one.
Yeah, okay, so for us, traction was a little bit different, right? Because you have to have something out in order to have it measured. My process for traction was, for context, I've been through business, building a handful of businesses, and when I first got started and I was younger, I was like, I'm just gonna make money, and so making money, and that was the thing, and that is a beautiful motivation. You should all go do that. That is definitely, the thing. But for me, traction was going, okay, I'm sitting back recognizing I want to build something that means something, and I want to build something that's making an impact, and I have to be able to connect with that on some level, and enough to be able to stand against the challenges that come when that gets hard. Because we've probably all also, a lot of us have also been there where you're like, okay, we thought this was going to be great. We thought we were signing up for, freedom, but we don't actually have it when we get in, because now you're kind of becoming, you are the motivator and momentum of the business. And you're like, okay, if I go to bed and don't wake up, then this is gone. And that's a hard place to be. So for me, I wanted to go into this going, okay, what really am I going after? What's the value that I'm creating that I'm deeply passionate about, that I can actually put out in the market and have it be and have the strength to stand up with it. So one way, and this is, I'm a little bit weird in the way that I think, passion being something that you desire so deeply that you're willing to suffer for it. In so many ways is our entrepreneurial journey. And so for me, I'm going, okay, I'm about to go after this, it's in the AI space, it's in the business intelligence space, this is really challenging. I have to have the fortitude to be able to go after that and have actually gotten traction. So the easy answer is that, I just started with like, okay, let me put something out there. Sometime in the beginning, it starts as an idea, right? Because it's not real. Hey, what do you think about this? And what I'm doing is I'm playing with what I really want to go after, what's really in my heart that I can bring out into the world. So, I'm a little bit interesting. So there's this old kind of thing that goes on. There's a visualization in a book that I read a long time ago that really hit me. To be an artist is about self-expression. That is about me being able to get myself out into a canvas so that me is out here. Self-expression is a huge part of this journey. To be a designer is to understand somebody else so deeply that you can actually build something for them. It is a external, empathetic position. To be a creator is actually finding the way to have the symbiosis between me as an artist and the people that I'm creating for so that we can create value cohesively between us and others. So for me, that was going, okay, what do I actually want to bring into the world and where are my boundaries? Because if I just listen to the market all the time, I'll be selling ice cream.
You don't want to compete with Danny Lee.
No.
He's got that corner.
He's good. He's fine. Go buy ice cream from Danny. Go support the businesses in this room. So for me, that was really coming down to what am I want to put something out there and I need to create a value set to know when I'm not going to go out of that value set. And so the easy answer was a demo. For me, it was like, okay, get some mock-ups out, get some stuff out, start going through that. But I have to know when to actually take the feedback and go, okay, I'm going to implement it. But to take the feedback, going, okay, I'm going to go after it. So for me, in that journey, it was really getting work done and seeing how others responded to it, and then evaluating if I wanted to bring that feedback back into what I was doing.
So do you have any strategies for getting that in front of people?
Yeah, really on a fundamental level, it's getting that out in front of as many people as you can, right? Like that's to make it real, you have to put it out there and it has to be real to others, enough for them to want what you're doing. And so for me, that was like, okay, let's put the idea out there first. Let's see how it sits with the value that I want to create. Then let's create visualizations and conceptualizations that help us explain that idea. That's why a pitch, whether you're pitching for money, a pitch deck is an incredible tool to do that because it causes you to ask questions, to face those things, even when you might not be going for money. What you are going for is impact in customers. So those things are good to know either way. So it's really starting to get it out there and getting it in front of a number of people to start getting that response.
And so with that, were you going to your networks that you already had? Were you reaching out to people through cold emails? How did you get in front of them? Mix of everything. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's a tactical question. Like, what is your market? Mm-hmm. If it's ice cream, go get it in front of as many people. I'm sorry, ice cream. Go have as many people taste it as possible. And when they say it's not good, if they say it's not good, understand why. So because the tactical is like, go to LinkedIn, go to your local community, go to communities online, go to social network, go whatever you can do to get it out there, and get it out there in as many places as you can. The point is, though, is when you have somebody who gives you feedback, how do I say that? We want to get feedback and have people accept it, and that's the easy thing to do. And for a lot of us, it's hard to face the feedback when it's not accepted, and that's actually the more powerful data. Mm-hmm. That's actually where you start to find the value creation in what you're doing. Because getting people to give you money is actually really good, but the majority of the time, we all watch companies and we all watch people and they're doing something, and you're like, you're just kind of off. Like the value that they're creating is just not quite there.
and we kind of feel it, or sometimes it's just not, like, maybe not see it's feel it's a value equation, right? Like, this restaurant gives this food and it's not worth this amount, and we have those things. So what I'm saying is you get it out there and start to look at the areas where the data is actually sitting in people that are not purchasing your product and are not going after what you want and are not actually engaging. That's when you find where your real value creation is. That's a bad, weird way to say that.
You're good. So how have you measured traction and momentum in Legendary or in other businesses, and what have you found to be kind of like key metrics? And you're like, yes, like this is getting momentum, this is working.
We pick KPIs that indicate multiple factors at once. So, for us, obviously, getting customers is an easy way to do that. So for us, our first metric was get 10 customers a month. That's it. We don't need to worry about everything else. We don't need to worry about the 15-year plan for how to do all of the things and for what we want. That's already, we already spend enough, I spend enough time in the future in talking about what I want to do, that I had to put KPIs in front of myself that really brought me back down to what is the most realistic thing that I can do today to make it real. I mean, you can always do something to make it real. There's no thing that any of you are sitting on that you can't wake up in the morning and go, I can make this more present, more real, more realistic to my audience. That's just the game. So what we do is we go, okay, what KPIs are actually really good indicators that we are creating value on multiple levels? So getting a customer means you have a sales engine, means you have a product, it means you've actually gotten it in front of enough people that you understand what they want and how to deliver it to them, so that you can show up with something valuable and they can actually believe you that it's valuable. And so, like, customers is a good metric, but for some of us, you want to pick some things in your company that also may indicate that same thing. Partnerships are a great one. How many partners, how many people can I get on board with selling my product? How many referral codes can I give out? How many investors, for some of you looking for money, what are investors saying? How many options can we get on the table? If it's debt financing, what are the banks saying? What do we need to do? What are metrics that we have to hit in our finances in order to be able to capture that? So just finding those metrics that mean that you're performing well in your own company is actually probably, for us, that's how we did it. I mean, yeah.
Totally. I know that we've had multiple conversations on KPIs, and that's probably your 3 favorite letters is KPI? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So with that, what are some of like the biggest challenges you've faced? If it's like, oh man, like this is going great, like we have a ton of momentum, and then you're just like, bam, and hit a brick wall. It's happened maybe like, once or twice, right? So like what were those challenges, and like how did you overcome those to get that momentum going again?
I'm a little bit more introverted, if you couldn't tell. For me, it's getting to the place where I get overwhelmed with how much needs to be done, and what needs to happen, and I get overwhelmed with, obviously there's so many tasks that have to get done, especially with what we're doing. There's architectures that have to be solved. There's money that has to be gotten. There's experts that need to be brought in. There's, entire traffic lines of communication that need to be maintained. And, especially when I was on my own, it was like, I'm the one doing all of that. And I'm also, I'm the core part of the business, and that can just, you get through, we all have had those times where you're like, man, what am I doing? Where am I at? I've gotten to the place where I've hated my business. I'm like, what the crap did I do? And now I'm accountable to investors and all these people. Can I just stop? And then you're like, okay, first of all, no, just keep going. like the answer is not stop, because I may have a moment where I'm breaking down, but momentum and continuing to do the work is really important.
And having the world's most supportive startup.
And having the world's most, that actually goes to having a community around you of people who can help you. And when you're having that moment, I even think about like Katie and Eric, like when you're having a moment, like, I just want to give up today. I just want to, so I was talking to so-and-so, and it seems way easier. Like, I can just go make money over here. And so why don't I just go do that? It's like, well, you're going to go make that switch. You're going to love it for a month, and then you're going to realize you're not creating the value that you wanted to create, and you're going to be wishing you're back over on this side. So having a community and people around you that you can, keep you accountable to your vision, not just your company. They don't know what's going on, but keeping you accountable to who you are and that you can have speak into your life like that. Also, yeah, having people that can keep you accountable in your company. And for all of us, it's a different thing. Like some mornings I wake up and I'm like, if somebody asks me what I'm doing today, I'm going to hurt them, maybe more verbally, because I'm not like that. The other thing that I really had to get to, and I think this is a really awkward question, because you read a lot of resources and it's like, put milestones in, put goals in, put all these things in. Vision is absolutely key. But the future. And I realized I was consistently waking up every day comparing myself to the future. I was not being present in my business. And the decisions that I make in my business are causing me to feel fear, to have anxiety, to have those things come up. So then when I'm having a conversation about money, we had an investor come up to us and they're like, hey, you do deep psychometric data. Can you use the data to actually pre-analyze who's going to do something wrong in a business? And we can use that data to maybe pre-fire them if we, blah, blah. And I'm like, but when they're saying, but we'll give you the money, and you're like, the money is great. My fear is that my OpEx is going to run out. I'm going to not have money for my developers, and that money sounds really good. Maybe I'll compromise a little bit. And those are the moments when you have to sit back and you have to go like, okay, no, I need to stay true to something, even when the future is on the table. Because when I make that deal, when I look back, and this was really big for me, when I get to the end of my day, I want to be able to look and see that the work that I did was was the work that I wanted to be doing, was the work that was done well, according to how I measure it. And I know it's a little bit different because everybody's going to tell you put goals in place, and then you're going to a lot of times miss those goals, and then you're going to feel really bad because you didn't line up to some future aspiration that you hope to do. Now, it gets a little different when you have investors and you have KPIs and some of those things. So not saying don't pay attention to the future. But for me, that actually was very overwhelming because half the time I don't measure up to my vision. So it was looking and going, okay, every day I'm going to do work, and I'm going to do work that's good. And I'm going to move the business forward, and I'm going to do it well. I'm going to maintain those values because I know in the moment, that thing might be nice, but it's not going to be who we want to be. And I'm going to make sure that when I get to the end of every night, I love who I am when I go to bed. And if I can do this well, other people will too, because I'll be creating value for them. That for me was the biggest antidote to that those parts of momentum.
Oh, definitely. So how would you say that customer feedback has help with that? It's like, what kind of things have you implemented, say maybe from feedback that you're like, wow, this is getting the train moving faster?
I think the biggest part for me was honestly, it's that the feedback is obviously, especially when it's in alignment with what you want, it's amazing. You're like, oh, this person is giving me money. That's it. We did it. But you're not going to innovate off of that alone. And I think that's where I come back to our innovation. Our innovation is found in the data that we don't like. Because to some degree, when you're solving a problem, somebody has a problem, and if we think of empathy being the root of innovation, I see where you're coming from, and you have a problem, and I'm gonna build a solution that is gonna really work for what you're doing. I see life from your perspective a bit. So when we run into these things for that customer validation, it's great when we can make adjustments and we can go after the market. And in that case, it's a marketing and customer acquisition thing, and let's drive down our customer acquisition costs and all of that. But to actually innovate on our product into value, we have to understand where it's not creating value. And then we can measure that. And you're like, somebody wants us to add in poodles, and that's not part of our company.
It should be. It should be Kip.
Poodles just got added.
We have a poodle, so that is.
It'll be a page that displays just for you. But so that's where, for us, that customer conversation really was mainly potent in the customers that we didn't necessarily want to hear from. That's why that challenge of that internal world, the parts where I faced the deepest, darkest moments were all of the no's from investors. It wasn't the yeses from investors that were hard. The no's from customers. It wasn't the no's from customers that were hard, but those are actually the places where we were able to find out the best data from the company to move it forward, to get more yeses and to get more customers.
So then how did you figure out your initial target market with Legendary?
Oh gosh. So we did a little bit of a different thing because most of the advice is pick a target market and run with it. And that is really good advice. But we want, we look at these and we go, okay, learn the rules like a pro, break them like an artist. Why do we do that? Because we need to get our messaging clear enough to actually be able to move. There's a larger conversation with like, okay, when I'm going after a target market, essentially what I'm doing is I'm optimizing my product and where I'm delivering it to bring down our customer acquisition costs so that there's a deep alignment with a certain market. We want to go after businesses that are doing whatever to whatever. What we did is we kind of just like in paintball when I was a kid, we called it sprayed and prayed. We literally just ran ads across multiple segments of the market because I have an assumption and opinion of what I think it's going to be. And I actually have expertise. Like I'm my own purchaser. I'm fortunate in that I would have spent, $20,000, $30,000 a year on a piece of software. So I'm fortunate that I have my perspective. But the majority of the time, like in our company, we kind of say your opinion doesn't matter because opinions are just future aspirations that we haven't really put into reality yet. Let's put them into reality. Let's test them. And then what's creating value is a really incredibly good opinion. So let's put a bunch out there. Let's test. Let's run ads. Literally, we're like, one morning we all wake up, we're like, okay, we're going to go today. We create 8 ads and target these audiences and do these things and watch the data and watch how people interact with it. When we don't, we say, when a customer says no, we make it just as valuable as when they say yes. And then when they say yes, we put more money into that.
Totally.
So that's how and then what we do, and this is actually, then we pick and we niche down and we pick a target market. And we go, okay, we're going to go after that. Because it's easy to be too broad is very, very possible. Not too broad in a bad way, but too broad in a good way is very, very possible. Like QuickBooks, who buys QuickBooks? Everybody who makes money in a business. It's easy to be like, okay, I'm going after everybody who makes money in a business. Now you are so spread thin that you don't have the ability to actually be specific in capturing money from a specific audience, and you're going to usually become nothing to a lot of people. Like the amount of audience segmentation technology that goes in behind a lot of the larger companies that we see when we're like Apple, we're like these people. We're like, they have incredibly detailed, advanced target customer segmentation technologies behind them that mean that when I'm going down their pipeline, I don't know that they're targeting 1,000 pipelines. So what I need to do right now as a startup is I need to pick one pipeline that I can manage, that I can get in front of, that I can put money into, that I think is going to be enough to get me sales, and I'm just going to go after that pipeline. And when I nail it and I do a really good job and I know that I can extract money from that segment of the audience, now I can start to open up because I have the skill and I have the technology and capabilities to be able to go after that. Sorry.
About what?
I just went on a thing.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
That's how our conversations go. You're good. Yeah.
Okay. I like to apologize to you. I'm sorry.
I know, and he's not even Canadian. Go figure. So. Anyway, so can you at all share an example of when you took a risk to gain traction, if that paid off, if that didn't, or you're like, whoa, we were off, or like, whew, thank goodness that worked.
Yeah, an example.
Yeah.
I think my favorite, and this is Winston Churchill said, we build our buildings and then our buildings build us. So we produce something and then what we produce is actually giving value back to us. So this is a story that I have running around my head because I did something when I was younger and I had my first marketing agency, and now I'm like, man, I want to be that guy someday. So I was on Twitter at the time, and Mark Cuban texted like, hey, we're going to be redesigning the jerseys for the Mavericks. I was like, so I tweeted him back. I was like, I don't care about your jerseys, but your website sucks, and I want to redo that. Because it was a marketing firm. And he gets back to me, and then I emailed him that too, and I was like, hey, I think your website actually sucks. So I don't know, take it or leave it. And he got back to me, he's like, can you help me with all my marketing and all of our stuff for my personal book and my blog and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, that risk worked. The other option is I don't hear anything. And ironically, actually, to a point about traction, so Mark is interested in investing in our company in the future. And he got back to me and he's like, when I want to see with Abby, well, I might be interested when you
Abby is the secondary thing to Legendary. Just
Abby is the product that we're building. Yes. The artificial business intelligence. And so he said, when you get pre-sales, then talk to me. And it's smart, right? Because I have a sales engine. I've gotten it out there. I have people that's valuable enough for people to want to buy it. And then he knows that that's actually a KPI that means all of these different things. But anyway, the other risk, it's a little bit weird to say, but the risk is being authentic. And I think a lot of us in business, and especially when we're talking to people who have more money than us or more power or more influence or more whatever, we want to put ourselves out there as competent, capable, and amazing, dynamic, people. And it's just not always the case. And the reality is we are all people. And the funny thing is, the more that I go down this game, the more that I realize all of the people that I idolize, I'm building them up to be something that they're not. They also are. And I know it's cliche, but the risk part is now I'm going to assume they're a person, and I'm just going to be me. And if they don't want it, then that might be okay, actually. That might actually mean that I save myself down the road. Most of the time when I do that, I find that they're just people too that go, oh yeah, I know what that feels like. Let's work together. Oh yeah, I know what that is. I see how that works. Let's figure it out. That it takes a risk. We think of it like put ourselves out there and be this confident master of all things. But sometimes to actually be real and genuine gets us way further. Hey, I did this. So a moment. I had a day where I had a bunch of no's from our raise. And it's like, high power person saying, I don't see this. High power person saying, this isn't good enough. It's too competitive. It's all these stuff. And I'm like getting back, I'm like, this is a rough day. Oh my gosh, nobody likes me. Nobody likes this. And I say me because I know that my business is the thing, but also I'm part of and that's, it's deep and whatever. And I'm going, okay, wait, I just got lost in that for a second. Yeah. Oh, there we go. The part, what's harder is to go, okay, person that has all the things that I want, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I not connecting with? How do I solve that problem? Realizing that the people that we are going after, because they're people, sometimes you can just be like, hey, I don't know exactly how to do this thing. Or I'm trying to put this out there in a way that is really speaks to you. Why did it not connect? So to be authentic sometimes actually gets us contribution in a way that we always don't understand. And I can't, there's an adage in raising money. If you want money, ask for, if you want advice, ask for money. If you want money, ask for advice. And so there's a really important lesson in going, okay, I'm actually going to be open to feedback, and I'm going to be open to you knowing that I have deep, dark secrets in my company, and I'm not as put together as you think. And that's where you can actually start to build trust with the people that you actually want to build trust with. If they don't like you for it, it's okay.
Not a good fit anyway.
Not a good fit anyway.
Yeah. 2 more questions here. So I want to kind of circle back to the KPIs. If someone is starting a business or they have a business and they're like, KPIs, I don't have those. Or is there a couple of good strategies to say, set initial KPIs that you would give? Oh, yeah. Okay. KPI, sorry. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. It is a metric that you can put in your business that is indicated that you are performing according to how you would like to perform. So it's kind of
known as traction, kind of.
Also known as traction.
Yes.
Yes. So you have to determine your KPI for your own business. How many people you can get into a comedy show is a KPI. Okay, so let's do one. Let's get 10. Great. If you can get 10, next time you can get 20. Time after that, you can get 40, 50. You could probably go way higher than that. So you have to pick a KPI for your business that actually means that you're actually producing that thing. I'm just circling that. Okay.
So basically just looking at the goals you would like to achieve and breaking those down, or?
Yeah, it's just really tricky because when you're saying, okay, get 5 partnerships, get 5 people that are willing to contribute to your business. You're putting something out and determining so that somebody else can determine if what you have is valuable. Sometimes it's customers are the easiest answer to the question and just do that. But it really is about finding what does real look like for you over the next 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I personally like to plan out that far. I like to put those KPIs in place. Okay, in 3 months, what does my business look like? How many customers do I have? What does my sales engine look like? What does my product look like? What does this look like? 6 months, 12 months. The trick, though, is that's not realistic. Like we talk about like the impacts of COVID, not going to be political, but like what most people don't realize is businesses weren't planning for that. That wasn't a linear thing. History is not linear. You're going to run into 5 barriers and have 5 things happen that you never planned for. But by planning, you have the ability to already have thought through what you might do. So I can't tell you how many times where I've been like, okay, I'm going to plan 3 months out. That actually became 4 months. But those markers, those KPIs, are still very, very, very applicable. I can still use those no matter where they're at on my time track. So I would look at like, for us, it's like, okay, 10 customers a month. Now we go to 150 customers a month. Now we actually go to the customers per month isn't actually the KPI. The KPI is customer lifetime value because we have enough data to be able to switch that. So now when we're doing, $20 million, we can look at CLV as our primary KPI, not just, number of customers. So you can kind of plan that out, and most of the time you don't use most of it until you need it, but it's good to plan.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one here before I open it up to just Q&A is, what advice would you give to people who are maybe struggling to get traction, to find momentum in their business?
Okay, first of all, ask. Ask a lot of questions. If you're having that moment where you're like running up against one of those barriers, it's because either you're not communicating something, or you have something that is, or there's a miscommunication of some form, or you're not putting yourself out there enough. And so that's where I would just step back for a moment and ask questions about what is happening. Why is this doing this? Talk to the people that you're actually trying to sell to. Most of your friends aren't going to give you the advice you need. Like, they're great, they love you, they're going to make sure you're okay, but they're not going to give you the feedback that you need to actually face what the challenge is in your business. You can only do that. And honestly, that's for us. Cold sales was our metric for that. Because okay, you start a business, you have a network, you have a bunch of friends. You go sell to your friends. Of course you can make money in the first few months. That's amazing. You start making money, and then immediately after that, your sales start tanking. Why? Because now you have to reach to people outside your market who don't love you and know you, and now you need to figure out what to do. And those people don't care. So to go to those people and go, hey, what's wrong? I know you don't know me, but I'm going to LinkedIn you. I was weird, man. I was like, I'm going to LinkedIn you and be like, hey, I know you don't know me. This is my business. This is what I'm doing. Why don't you want it? They're like, because, I don't get this and this and this. Okay, this person, this ICP has this problem. And you do that 1,000 times. The last thing I'm going to say, this is really huge for us. Okay, so you come across a barrier. There's a problem. Maybe it's traction, maybe it's this thing, maybe something else happens, maybe a new disease comes across, everything. I don't know, whatever the thing is. Something happens, and you sit back and you feel this thing, and you're like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. One thing that I've trained my brain to do that is really, really, really helpful is go, okay, I have my best perspective on how I can get through this. We all kind of have an idea of like, what do I do? And I think I'm gonna do this. What I've found to be really helpful is sit back and build options, no matter how stupid they sound. So I'll come across a barrier and I'll go, okay, how do I solve this barrier? I could go get debt financing. I could go get equity financing. I could go do this. 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 I have 10 ideas now of what I can do to get past this barrier. I'm going to ask people in my market, how do you think I should get past this barrier? I'm going to ask somebody who's way smarter than me, especially when it comes to like development. I know it's ironic because like the company we're running, I'm not the smartest technical person in the room. I'm going, hey, how do we get past this barrier? What do you think we should do? And I take all those options, and now I have a bunch of ways I can solve the problem. Now I actually have something that I can go off of. I want to do, and you bring that down to what is the most likely, most viable, and the easiest or best thing for you to do to solve that problem. And if that doesn't work, I have an option B, I have an option C, I have an option E. I mean, we've been doing that in our raising. Like, here's the VC firm or the individual that we really want to get raising from. If we don't get that, here's another person, here's another person, here's another person, here's another person, here's another person. So the options building was massive for us. If you're struggling with getting past things, options are great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing the wisdom there. So now we go to the crowd. So anybody have questions? Greg.
So I didn't get a chance to really research it beforehand, unfortunately.
You're good.
I'm trying to figure out, Legendary is the company, and then Abby is the product.
Abby's the product.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Abby, what are the key features, and what is your target market for that?
So right now, we have in our go-to-market strategy, we have a temporary product that we're using as a prototype to get sales. So our target market for our prototype product is companies between $50 to $75 million, executives specifically. We have equity financing, so VC firms that are doing due diligence on companies. So we have a few things there. To be honest, our Abby market is anybody who makes money in a business. But really, we're starting off and kicking off with businesses between $1 to $100 million who are looking for. Abby is proactive business intelligence. There's not really a lot of things on the market because of the way that we're doing it. So I can't tell you that here's all these businesses who are looking for it. So I'm in a weird spot where, the irony of part of an emerging technology is you don't always have a reference. So it's a little bit weird. So I can't tell you how Abby is going to perform. But I can tell you that we're actually using the strategy to get to our ICP on our prototype product so that we can get good at doing that.
Okay, it'd be cool to have eventually, once you nail this down, at the higher end, something that helps people that are starting also kind of, figure out what their direction needs to be, because even just starting a business is tough, let alone figuring out what KPI is and all the other things. But I also have one more follow-up question.
Yep.
So for startups, what would be if you're going to choose a channel to start, get your traction, what would you choose?
Channel, as in business or a place that I'm promoting my business?
Where you're promoting?
For me, when I'm starting and it's from zero, I usually look at my immediate community because I can get quicker and better feedback, at least for so for me, when I started this, I went to a few partners in our community. I was like, hey, would you be willing to sell our product? They actually became partners and started selling our product. And so it was really easy. And then honestly, LinkedIn, it was really helpful for us. But then partnerships. Partnerships are accessing, if I'm looking at a cost of acquisition, just as a pure cost of acquisition, me advertising and doing the outreach to 1,000 businesses is way harder than finding a business who already has 1,000 clients. So those partners are not only they're helping you because they have a cash opportunity, but they also have the opportunity. Abby Found is what we're going to be releasing for startups. It's going to be a free tool for founders. Yeah.
What's the time frame you think?
Probably 2.5 years, 2 years, but we have ways of making that shorter.
Well, by then we'll be at the main product level.
Yeah. We'll have an answer shortly for that.
She handed me the mic already. So AI is rocking my world. Thank you for some of the AI classes and such. So is that why you're bullish on artificial business intelligence? And can you share us what your vision is for the next 3, 5, 7 what years you see in the future?
Oh, you just asked a large question. I will try to keep it concise. Our work started before AI was deeply utilized. AI is really just fundamentally incredible at data transformation. And so what we're using it for is that data transformation aspect of where we need to take one thing and convert it into another and do that in a specific way. Where it's going though, because right now a lot of it is less on downstream implementation. Now there are some companies that are doing the actual execution of the work, and that's kind of a new thing, and that's requiring a lot of training. To be honest, where it's going, we've already planned in SaaS, generative SaaS. So tools will be created themselves out of the use case that you give the tool. So right now it's AI, our developer is using AI to help develop our product. It just cut 6 months off of his timeline. We're about to have our first SaaS developed product out in the next few weeks, when it took me 1/8 of the money and 1/8 of the time. The next step beyond that is the generative SaaS side of that. Where AI is going is a really large question. What I will say is what we've been seeing in the market is the reason why our company is pushing into AI in the way that it is because we can see use cases where it can be terrible. Like when I made the comment about the psychometrics, being able to analyze how our people are doing and pre-assess who to let go. We cannot let AI be used for the detriment of humanity. It has to be used for the positive of humanity. So it's going to be we're going to be hearing a lot from both of those things. And the only thing I'm just encouraging everybody to do is absolutely use it, adopt it, ingest it, bring it into your world, but make sure that when you're doing it with a vision of where we can go, not just what we can subvert.
Hi, is Abby built off of AI agent frameworks that are open source?
Yeah, so our strategy in getting to the market quicker is essentially using a network of off-the-shelf tools. I mean, we're using like Snowflake, for instance, to build RAG systems or retrieval augmented generation. The goal is to get to our own because we have more control over the output and how we measure and how we monitor the input. But really, honestly, you can go build some incredible things with off-the-shelf tools. What we've also done, just as a note, is we've broken, like we think of, like ChatGPT, it's this large model, everybody's gonna, and now we have these large models and they're competing. What we're doing essentially is we're narrowing those down to small individual models that are really potent at one small thing, and then connecting them all together so that they can generate something way more accurate than just the large model. The large models are a little broken in some cases.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, that network AI side is like, that's the next tools that are released that are actually making progress in the market and changing AI are not single models.
What other questions we got?
He's the guy,
other
the geeky
questions?
side.
Get you in a second. We'll give this side some love.
Hi.
Hello.
Amazing. I love everything you said. It was spot on.
Thank you for giving me I was like, oh, no, I'm not the only one with the mic thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm terrified.
Good job.
Okay, so you mentioned ad testing, like testing concepts and markets through ads.
Yeah.
And I would love like as much detail as you are comfortable giving in that process.
Yeah.
Platforms, budgets, timelines, like framework for like narrowing down to further tests.
Yeah, that one's on the tactical side very tricky right now because what we've been noticing. So we started just canvassing ads across the board for what we're doing, and I would encourage a lot of you just to try it because sometimes the downstream benefit is not just the ad; it's the process of getting better at running those things and doing those things. Even in a small business, knowing like, okay, here's how I can get myself out there. Here's how I can increase that visibility. What we found actually, ads are really in an upheaval right now and what we're actually watching is partially because we're seeing AI agents that are actually learning off of ads as well. So now our cost of acquisition is going up. And so the best way that we found around that, and this is really like recent, we're watching the like Hotjar, you're probably like stuff like that. You're like, oh, that's not a user. That's an AI bot that's learning off of our website that's going and essentially scraping everything on the internet. And part of what it's doing is it's clicking on our ads, which is not great. What we find though is that when and this is just a little bit of an interesting thing because there's a lot of content, and so they say like content is a really effective tool. It's also really oversaturated. So what we're doing though is like we're boosting certain pieces of content, and we're finding ways to advertise value, intermittent value, not just directly to our product through an ad, but value to our product through a handful of different mechanisms that are more organic.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot more there, but we can chat about it. But it's networks. Like the other side of it is we're kind of taking the influencer campaign stuff to the extreme too, rather than just like, okay, go get a bunch of micro influencers. That's actually a really good idea. Go to Instagram, say, hey, does anybody want to get a referral code? You have 10,000 followers. Do this thing. You're going to get a few hundred interactions with your company. But now we're going to the level of how do we actually integrate those other partners with our content? And how do we actually start to build that network effect within our content so that then we can utilize that network effect for our sales?
Juan's the last one here.
Okay. Yeah.
So my question is along the lines of what do you do when you are having those bad days? Going back to traction, right? I've had a lot of issues when it comes to being consistent with the amount of work that I put in. And so sometimes, when you're having those bad days and you're like, man, like, what did I get myself into? I should just, get my job again. It can be a little bit tough. And what I've done is kind of, set my business aside because it's kind of running on autopilot. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't have to put in a lot of time, but I know that if I do, the results are going to be much better. Mm-hmm. So what would you change in the way I look at at things, because sometimes it can be easy for me to just be like, oh, I'm so stressed out. I'm just gonna, do this other thing. Is there anything that you do specifically?
Well, first
to
I
help
cry. Like that's normal.
So it's okay to cry.
Yeah, it's okay to cry. I mean, let's be honest. That addressing that is the first part. Not even addressing it in terms of solving it, but acknowledging it is the first part and going, this is hard. This is hard. It's just hard. And it's not anything about you sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It's not anything about your customers. Sometimes it can just be challenging because it's a lot of work. Like I look at that and go, okay, if I'm going to spend an hour a day doing this thing and it's going to take me 100 hours to accomplish, it's going to take 100 days. Like that's just the nature of the business. So just acknowledging like, yes, this can be hard and this is hard. How I navigate past it is, first of all, I don't let myself stop motion, because stopping motion, even when I don't like it, stopping motion will kill anything. So I just go, okay, today, maybe I'll go into work a little bit later. Maybe I'll stop for a moment and go take a walk beforehand, but I have to do something today to make it more real, because stopping is actually more detrimental. The other thing that for me that really worked is kind of stepping back, and this is just more of a process of like reframing the way that I think about my business, and it doesn't always apply to everybody, but I'm building something bigger than me. For me, the impact of my business, because on some level we believe that business should be utilized for the benefit of people, and so that's a really important thing for me to go after. And so that vision is not just about what I want that to be. It's something that is actually an impact on the planet that other people also care for. And so it's easy to get to the place where you think of your business as yourself, and that is absolutely true. At the same time, a lot of times you are building something bigger than you. And so for me, it's helpful to go, okay, there's a sense of purpose. What is my purpose in this? And I'm going to go back and reconnect with that, because my purpose is both to create, to use capitalism for the benefit of people. That's for me, but also I'm going to be a contributor to that, which means some days I'm going to get up and I'm not going to want to go after it. I'm going to be like an employee. And I can live in both of those states, but I need to at least acknowledge the fact that I still deeply believe in this thing. And sometimes for us, honestly, guys, it's like if it's just making money, why? Okay, I want to provide for my family. That's a common thing. Okay, we want to provide. We want to do this thing. But coming back to why and sitting in that has been really then at least I can still go to work being frustrated that I'm doing it, that I'm in that position, but I can at least go to work knowing that I'm moving towards who I want to be and what the impact that I want in the world.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Lots of sound bites off of that one.
Oh.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. Super appreciate it. So I will take the microphone from you now, unless you've, become accompanied with it.
No, you're great. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for sharing. Just like I said, he's a wealth of wisdom.